And welcome to the presentation Assessment for Learning.
Introduction. Our objectives of this presentation are to find out what is assessment for learning, what are formative and summative assessments, the benefits of AFL, drawbacks of AFL, and how AFL contributes to the learning and performance of the student. Assessment for learning is the process of seeking and interpreting evidence for use by learners and their teachers to decide where the learners are in the learning and where they need to go and how is best to get there. Aims of AFL are improvement, which is to fine-tune the skills or ability to think. Progress, work on more complex and demanding problems. Achievement of a high-quality outcome. And confidence and better feelings and attitude towards the learning. Increased self-belief, esteem and confidence. The criteria for AFL is planning for improvement, so this from the teachers is to establish a baseline with the learner, to set appropriate tasks, and make sure it's understood with the clear learning goals and expectations of the learner. The teaching and assessments require communication and interaction with the pupils to offer constructive feedback and set new goals as they are achieved. It also requires a review for improvement, which is regularly done and requires judging for progress towards other goals. These are the 5 areas which AFL covers.
Effective questioning, feedback, pattern analysis, self-and peer assessment and core tasks. Formative and summative assessment are formative assessment is in which you look forward to developing future achievements, whereas summative assessment is necessary for providing information to both learners and teachers about learning which has occurred. Now the diagram below shows how we can break down summative and formative assessment. Summative assessment shows how we look back at past achievements, whereas formative assessment shows how we look forward to future achievements.
Effective questioning is a process of asking students relevant, progressive and open questions to develop a stronger understanding of the criteria for learning. Questioning can do more than measure what students know. They can appropriately challenge, engage and effectively stimulate peer discussion and encourage students to explore and refine understanding of key concepts. The strengths of effective questioning are that it draws out the learner's understanding, enhances cognitive ability of the students through the questioning, encourages students to discover new interests and develops diverse perspective in classroom discussions. Weaknesses of effective questioning involve time consuming. This is because students need a period of self-reflection or discussion time. This can make these sessions stop-start, disrupting the flow. How the question is posed is another weakness. This is because some students may not understand the question. This can lead to students being demotivated, not wanting to answer the question, leading to the session being silent.
Performance feedback is another part of the criteria in AFL, and it's an important factor of a successful performance and should be used when setting performance goals. When feedback is given, this gives the students an opportunity to reflect on their performance and progress towards their goal. Students need to know in a constructive manner on how they're doing and what is working and what's not. This is an essential part of an assessment for learning because it includes many different factors. For example, a coach or peer who is assessing the performer, it's vital to include the following: constructive comments, which show positivity in a performer's results rather than negativity. This then leads on for the performer to recognise their own individual achievements and evaluate their performance to identify if they have met specific goals, which may have been set for them. Also, this provides an opportunity to identify and analyse any strengths and weaknesses involved in their performance, and therefore be able to understand and develop strategies to solve their problems, which they were unable to overcome beforehand. Ultimately, after the performer was given feedback, this then sets a foundation in their own development and progress in learning. Then we move on to pattern analysis, and this can also be used as a tool for providing feedback to an individual. The main aim of pattern analysis is for the performers to be able to understand and develop procedural knowledge in the aim to achieve a specific goal which may have been set. Procedural knowledge is information which is involved in executing a specific skill successfully. For example, how you're going to do it. Pattern analysis is made up of 3 different factors: positioning, which is who and what must be positioned where; actions, what action should be taken by whom; and timing, and is the correct time to take this action. These are the factors which performers need to identify and analyse in order to gain procedural knowledge of the skill. The benefit of pattern analysis is that once the skill has been analysed, then it makes it less complex for the performer to understand what are they required to do to achieve the specific goal.
The self-and-peer assessment. Self-and-peer assessment involves students assessing the work of other students, while self-assessment involves each individual in consideration of their own work. The advantages with self-and-peer assessment would be encouraging students' involvement and responsibility. It develops the students' judgment skills as they're judging other peers. It helps students to become more aware of their strengths and weaknesses in order for them to improve. Provides more relevant feedback. It's fair as each student is judged on their own contribution in group work, and it encourages students to reflect on their contribution to the group work that they've done previously. However, the disadvantages with self-and-peer assessment could be peer pressure, or students may not be familiar with the assessment criteria. There also could be a lack of experience when assessing other individuals if it's the first time they're doing it. Students may be reluctant to pass judgment, and students tend to award everyone the same mark through, again, peer pressure and if they're working with their friends.
The core task makes sure pupils understand the difference between a task and the learning goals. We need to give reasons for the objectives of the lesson and allow pupils to know what the specific criteria is for the assessment. One way of doing this is to ask students to participate in a unit of work, usually shortened or simplified, of a certain sport, e.g. football, five-a-side.
Now we're on to the conclusion. Throughout this presentation, we have found that AFL is learner-centred and made up of specific criteria, as we've covered, which is effective questioning, self and peer assessment, core task, pattern analysis, and also performance feedback. The use of a criteria is contribute to the learning and performance of the individuals and provides a successful scheme of work.
These are the references that we have used throughout the presentation. Thanks for listening.